From the times you see the line markings for the RFDS, never do you ever think, I'm going to have to use that plane, because it's something you don't know until you need it. We found out that we were pregnant in February last year. One afternoon I started to get some really bad pains. Around 5 hours later, I'd collapsed on the floor at home. My husband was able to get the ambulance. I was able to get straight onto the Royal Flying Doctor's flight about an hour later. We landed in Port Hedland, and it was actually a student doctor who got the sonography machine. My right fallopian tube had a baby that was growing inside of it, and I'd actually already started to internally bleed, so I lost about 300 mils of blood. So around 2 hours later, straight into theatre, because I had already started to internally bleed. I could actually die. So I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't been able to say goodbye to the boys, haven't been able to say goodbye to my husband. It was quite upsetting, sorry.
The drive to Port Hedland was a scary, daunting drive, just around the things that, is it worse than what any of us were expecting? I think one of the things we're really lucky about is that the RFDS service was able to take Ree on the flight. Whilst it's maybe a 20-minute flight, it's a 2.5-hour drive. Incredibly thankful that the RFDS were there.
After the operation and waking up, boys were right there and Andy was there, which was amazing. But just hearing Dakoda was fine and that she was moving, it was meant to be. It all was supposed to work out the way that it was. The first initial stuff happened in March, then comes July. My son actually got gastro. Unfortunately shared it with me. When a pregnant person contracts gastro, can actually cause them to go into early labour. So they knew straight away that they would have to get me down to Perth. Really lucky, once again, within an hour or two, I already had a flight booked. Ambulance officers were there and they did a really thorough handover, and the RFDS pilot introduced himself again and the nurse introduced himself again. So it was just really, really seamless.
So when I landed back in Karratha, when I actually got off the plane, I saw Ree getting put on to the RFDS plane across the tarmac. And it was such a weird sensation. It was very strong worry, but also almost just as strong comfort going, you know what, she's in the best hands possible and she's going to get to Perth as quickly as anyone can get her there.
On the morning that Dakoda arrived, we were quite excited, and Andy came in just as Dakoda was actually being pulled out. She ended up being quite a miracle, from the boys having to be such an involved delivery to that ended up being the easiest thing. I know in my heart that living in the Pilbara, if anything was to happen, RFDS has got your back, and they really do.